Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב
Welcome, friends, and Shabbat Shalom. How beautiful it is to be together. Over the past few weeks, and including this Shabbat, we, the Jewish people, have been reading in our Torah the story of the way that we built God's house out in the desert so many generations ago. This, too, is a house of God built of brick and wood and fabric and stone, but it sits empty most of the week. It really only becomes a house of God when we enter it, not just with our bodies, but with our hearts and our souls, everything that we might bring to this place to truly allow God to dwell within. So may God dwell among us and within each of us this evening as we celebrate Shabbat together as a holy community. Welcome to Temple Israel, all of you who are here in person. Welcome to all of you joining us via the live stream, at home, at the office, on the go, wherever you might be. I'm Rabbi Michael Friedman, so pleased to be joined by Cantor Ilana Nemitov-Bressler.
She's a rabbi.
Rabbi Ilana Nemitov-Bressler and Cantor Julia Kadrain and our wonderful musical team.
Yes, we're so happy to have Yusuf and Mike Squared and Malin helping us lift our prayers higher.
Exactly. So, friends, we have so much to celebrate tonight and this Shabbat. We especially celebrate a few B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow. Zach and Serena Goldfarb will become B'nai Mitzvah in the morning, and Ethan Brukel in the evening. So come on up, the three of you. You're going to help us light our Shabbat candles. The blessing is on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat. We continue to welcome Shabbat together with song. I'll invite you to turn to page 142. And whatever it is that you think about your voice or your Hebrew ability, whether you think you're a good singer or not, or you know Hebrew or you don't, you're in good company. We all belong here. We've always belonged here. I want to invite you just to make some sound. So we sing Shalom Aleichem together, welcoming in Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Page 136. 140. Okay, 140. Thank you, Rabbi. Mizmor shir le'yom haShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot Lezamer l'Shimcha Elyon, Lezamer l'Shimcha Elyon. Mizmor shir le'yom haShabbat. Tov
Friends, I invite you to imagine that we are in the north of Israel 500 years ago, in the town of Sfat. Some of you may have visited. And just at this time, as the last rays of light, the sun was setting behind the horizon, we would be exiting the walls of the sanctuary to go out into the fields and greet, even with some sort of like way to feel, some way to touch the arrival of Shabbat. And the ancient mystics, hundreds of years ago, wrote this poem on pages 138 and 139. It was the poem that our ancestors would sing when we went out into those fields, greeting the beloved of Shabbat, L'cha Dodi. We'll sing verses 1, 2, and 5, and then we will rise and in our own way greet the arrival of Shabbat by facing the entrance of our sanctuary for the 9th verse.
L'cha Dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'cha Dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor v'divurecha ishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litchila Nekabela L'cha Dodi likrat kala v'nei Shabbat Nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'lecha ki hi makor ha'bracha Mirosh Mikedim Nesucha Sof Maaseh V'machavat Techila L'cha Dodi Likrat Kala
think about, we remain standing, and we think about prayer as an ongoing conversation between ourselves and God. We never really put a period at the end of the sentence. We just end off with a comma, intending to keep going. Baruch Hu, page 146.
Ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la la la.
This week we've seen the sun setting later, mostly just because we changed the clocks. But perhaps the last storm of the season, and in the week to come, the official start of spring. Yes. So in appreciation for the endless renewing cycles of nature, I invite you to join with me on page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari Varavi.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech u'shokvecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. Ani Adonai Elohechem. The Talmud teaches that we should always pray in a space with windows. And part of what's beautiful about that is sometimes we get beautiful natural light. But I think also praying in a space with windows reminds us to be aware of the outside world, because prayer is intrinsically linked with what's happening in the world around us. And our Mi Chamocha prayer, which is on page 158, often gives us a window into the season, because it's like the chameleon of melodies. The melody changes depending on the time of year. So tonight, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, in honor of all of our connections to Ireland, there are Jews in Ireland. And everywhere. There are Jews everywhere. So in honor of all of that and all that unites us, we sing this special melody for Mi Chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'dar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh.
Maybe in Timbuktu, they're everywhere. We're everywhere. And Hashkivenu is a reminder that no matter where we are, God is there to protect us, to shelter us. It's a reminder to ask for it, and when we ask, we receive that shelter. We sing together on page 160, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. Ve'ha'amideinu shomreinu
to God. If it comes from the heart, it will rush out on its own. Speed through receding galaxies or silences in the soul, and God will hear. Honesty with all, but speaking to God is different. Mind the soul for your coal and gems and regular earth. No pretense, and God will hear. Don't force the prayer or string words together. Pause, perhaps. Better not to pray. Silence will be a message of awe, and God will hear. Now step off into the very deep, beyond the way of prayer. We glimpse unknown magnitudes of God. No more, or we would be stunned into silence. Except that love makes itself small, we could not pray at all. We turn to the words of the Amida, our prayers of love, our prayers of silence, our prayers of togetherness. We rise in body or in spirit on page 164.
Adonai, Sefatai Tifta, Ufi Yagi, Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up our lips, let our mouths may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל HaKadosh.
We invite you to take a few moments for your own private personal prayer, using the words in our book through page 180 or those in your heart. You may be seated or you may stay as you are, however you are comfortable. We pray.
page 178. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lecha shalom. Ki atahu melech adon lecha shalom. Lecha shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol tov chosham b'shlomecha b'shlomecha. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
God, we call you Melech Adon L'chol HaShalom, the sovereign God of all peace. And we yearn to call you as well Melech Adon L'chol HaRefuah, the sovereign of all healing. God, we know that there are so many among us who are ill, injured, lonely, or in pain. So we ask that you be with them, and be with all who care for them, and be with us as we think of them. At this time, if you would like to offer the name of someone among your friends or your family, your colleagues, your neighbors, who is in need of a bit of strength and healing and peace, we invite you to share that name aloud. In addition to those who've already been named out loud as a congregation, as a Temple Israel community, we think on this Shabbat of Gerald Backman, Gabby Buckman, Mary Wheeler Braun, John Burns, Alex Carr, Al Delardi, Frida Easton, Steve Elliott, Rochelle Everts, Beth Field, Sue Flaum, Fred Friedman, Louise Friedman, Maurice Friedman, Jackie Fuchs, Roy Fuchs, Lanny Gans, Sandra Halperin, Jeff Helfand, Sheldon Manspicer, Don Matthews, Harriet Koppelman-Mincheski, Alan Nevis, Howard Parker, Robbie Regano, Gloria Scheinman, Marcia Silber, Stan Stern, Jill Stewart, Nancy Vega, Brian Wolf, Moshe Yaakov, Ben Yocheved, Bernie Vagnini. And we say, Mishaberach Avotenu v'imotenu, Abraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov v'Yivarech v'Yirapeh et Kol HaCholim. We sing together on page 371.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha V'imotenu, may the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We walked up to the Western Wall to find it packed. Multiple tour groups arrived simultaneously, everyone standing in line and talking loudly. The police and the hotel protection staff stationed around us. Plus, there were barricades, so we could only walk a certain way. I laid my tefillin and put my talit on as a protective cloak, worried about what might happen. As our group raised our voices, singing, Ozi vezimrat ya, vayehi li lishua. Boys as young as 5 and 6 started blowing plastic whistles to drown us out. The hotel police began separating us, men one way, allowed through security, while we were forced closer and closer to each other, but not allowed through to access the wall. We eventually made our way through security, past the barricade, into the women's section, where a specific area had been cordoned off for us to pray. We prayed the Amida quietly, but as we reached Hallel, psalms of praise for the new month, the beautiful sound of women's voices rose around me. I felt like I was part of something, even as I struggled with being in a place that didn't hold meaning for me. For many Jews, we find being at the Western Wall meaningful and powerful. There are those of us who believe that the Kotel is a symbol in so many different ways of what Judaism could look like, both within and outside of Israel. It is the closest wall to the place where Jewish ritual observance began. It represents continuity to the past, present, and future. To others, it represents so much more. It is a spiritual home closest to the Holy of Holies, where God was thought to dwell in the times of the temple. For many of the Israelis who participate in Women of the Wall, they are fighting to pray in this special place. Women of the Wall is an organization that seeks to allow these women to pray in the way that they want, wearing talit, laying tefillin, praying out loud at the wall and elsewhere in Israel. These women contend with ultra-Orthodox men and women who believe it is antithetical to their Judaism for women to pray aloud and wear ritual garb. Women of the Wall wants to raise up women's voices to help them be heard literally and figuratively, and for them to matter. Some might want to pray at the Wall, and many know that it is the most visible place to fight their fight for feminism and equality. As someone who has been to the Western Wall many times, I've struggled with it. I don't find power in praying outside the retaining wall of a place where sacrifices were once offered. Even more importantly, I struggle to pray in a place where the male Orthodox rabbanut, the rabbis, are in control, subjugating me and other women as a whole to a lesser experience simply because we're female. I don't like being told that we can't raise our voices in prayer or take up what they have claimed as their space. The Orthodox Jews who run the Kotel are indicative of an old way of life, an old way of Jewish experience that doesn't include women or allow for us to practice Judaism in the way we want. Holding all of that, my experience with Women of the Wall was a powerful moment of connection and community. Being with that many women and singing out loud was spiritually uplifting. In many ways, it doesn't really matter that my prayer experience at the Kotel wasn't the most meaningful one I've had. We were at the Kotel that morning for our friends who want to pray aloud in that place in Israel. We were there to show unity. We were there as an example to those young Orthodox women learning throughout the country who are next to us. So hopefully they could learn to take ownership over their Judaism and pray in the way they want. That is what we were fighting for. Whatever we may think of the Kotel, it is a place we want to show up to so that we can be a part of the conversation. The conversation about who is in charge of prayer and Jewish experience in Israel. The conversation about birth, marriage, and conversion, and who is allowed to make those decisions. The conversation about the place women have in Israeli society. In that way, the Kotel becomes a symbolic representation of making sure we are all part of the story. The Kotel is part of a bigger compromise promised by the prior liberal government, looking to make connections between all strands of Jewish existence. This particular promise revolves around the use of Robinson's Arch, a pluralistic space where Jews of all genders can celebrate life cycle moments. This is part of a larger compromise meant to include many components of Jewish life, including an acceptance of American conversion by liberal Jews, which right now isn't always accepted. And now, with this current and more right-wing and ultra-religious government, which is at its core anti-pluralistic, it and other more liberal changes most likely will not happen. And the story of the Kotel, the reason Women of the Wall is even more important, is that it is a microcosm of the larger conversation in Israel today. Across the country, people are protesting judicial reforms proposed by the Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, meant to curb the power of the judiciary. Ultimately, the protests are about the checks and balances the judiciary has on Israel's parliament. Part of the challenge is that if there isn't a secular Supreme Court as a check for human rights, what can stop this government or any future coalition from becoming increasingly more right-wing and ultra-religious? And when that happens, whose rights are marginalized? Palestinians, LGBTQ plus individuals, progressive Jews, women. Being at the Wall means I was standing up for something I care for, something that is under attack in Israel, which I was reminded of this past weekend while I was in the South, in Alabama with our 8th and 9th graders. We learned about the civil rights movement, about the men and women who did not allow their voices to be silenced because white hatred said they didn't matter. We met Joanne Bland and Bishop Calvin Woods, who believe their mission in life is to share their stories with groups like ours so that we continue to fight for everyone's rights. While there, we heard Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s potent words that none of us will be free until all of us are free. I know that I have an obligation to go and participate with Women of the Wall each time I am in Israel. I have an obligation because it gives pluralistic Judaism a platform and legitimacy. And I have an obligation to be there for the young woman who sees me at the wall and thinks that she can take control over her prayer life, her entire life. Not only do I have an obligation, we all do. May we make our voices heard wherever and whenever they are marginalized. May we stand up for the rights of those in our community and those whose voices are ignored, shunted aside, silenced. May we see the power that standing with others imbues us with. And next time we are at the Kotel, or in any space that isn't personally designed for us, but we support the cause, may we join in. May we show up to Pride, to the Women's March, to support abortion rights, to civil rights marches, and add our voices to support our marginalized neighbors.
Amen. Yasher Koach, Rabbi. No Shabbat gathering of ours is complete without bringing forth the memories of those who we have loved and lost, either at this season or in years gone by or recently. And so we invite those who might be observing Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days following the loss of a loved one, family member, or friend, to share the name of that loved one aloud at this time if you choose. As a Temple Israel community, we are observing Shiva and Shloshim for Gladys Handelman, mother of Ken and Lisa and Bob, grandmother of Josh, Ilana and Cam, Aaron and Yarden, Dahlia, Lexi, and Cassie. Marty Albert, husband of Janet, father of Liz and Joe Heyer, Andrew and Rachel Albert, grandfather of Samson, Austin, Presley, Madison, and Aaron. Karen Gambalotti, mother of Leah and Joe, Sarah, Aaron and Zach, grandmother of Marissa, Everett, and Benjamin. Phyllis Makovsky, wife of Ken, mother of Matt and Evan, sister of Stephen. And Gloria Pleasant, wife of the late Stanley, mother of Leslie, Nora and Carlo, and grandmother of Rabbi Zachary Pleasant and Cantor Jenna Mark. So too, if you are observing Yortzeit, the anniversary of the loss of a friend, family member, or loved one, we invite you to share their name aloud at this time. As a congregation, we remember on this evening Robert Agar, John Bereni, Molly Drucker, Victor Foster, Stanley Friedman, Barry Gersh, Jack Glickman, Molly Golden, Lillian Hammer, Margot Jacob, Pauline Kolstad, Claire Koppelman, Milton Leader, Mark Levy, Ann Lipman, Elliot Lockitz, Miriam Mendelson, Bernard Nussbaum, Jack Oland, Herbert Orkand, Dorothy Orland, Harry Portnoy, Sam Present, Myron Reinheimer, Sophie Zell Robbins, Barney Rosenblum, Louise Ross, Selma Halpert Roth, James Shoki, Douglas Schwartz, John Sulliver, Carol Halpern Scholler, Sophie Snell, Carl Strauss, Daniel Traum, and Blanche Zimmerman. Are there any other names for Kaddish this evening? And so now we invite all those observing Shiva, Shloshim, or Kaddish to rise at this time. And taking note of those who are in mourning, we all rise as one congregation of sympathy and fellowship. And we say, Zichronam livracha. May all those we remember always be remembered for blessing. Page 598 for these words of Kaddish Yatom. Page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechom v'omechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the Holy One of Blessing, who creates harmony in the heavens above, bring peace to us, to the entire people of Israel, and to all humanity. We say together, Amen. It's been to be together, to share beautiful words and beautiful music. Thank you to all of you who have joined us via the live stream. We're so glad to have you with us always. And we're especially glad that we've had our B'nai Mitzvah. So come on up with us as well. Come on up. Zach and Serena and Ethan, you guys will come up. You'll help us lead Kiddush. Before they do, we want to make sure everyone, actually, I want to do this. Raise your hand, adults in the room, raise your hand if you had a bar or bat mitzvah ceremony, and as part of that ceremony, you had to do something called haftarah. Yeah, okay. Anybody ever wonder what that is and what that's all about? You should come Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Rabbi Pleasant and I are going to teach the first of a 3-part series on Sunday mornings through March and April. Who are the prophets? What is the haftarah? And you're going to learn all about the ways that we are revolutionizing haftarah here at Temple Israel. Some of you have already experienced that. Some of you guys are experiencing that, our B'nai Mitzvah. It's going to be a really nice way to spend a Sunday morning, of course, with bagels and coffee and all of that. And the following Sunday, if you're a Disney fan, Cantor is going to lead a Disney sing-along right here on our bima. We will be in costume. George wants me to be Luke.
I like it.
Skywalker.
It's a wise kid.
This is like a...
I think it could work.
I don't know.
I think it could work.
Rework the tallest
I feel like there's potential, yeah.
Rabbi, is Luke a
Can I
Disney
use...
character?
Yes.
Really?
Disney bought the entire Star Wars franchise. I figure a yad is the...
I love it. The things we learned. You could just wear a
lightsaber.
wear a mask from...
A Torah mask. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, okay, page 123. You guys are going to lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila le'mikrei kodesh זכר יציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, בקדש השבת לחיים. Let's bless the challah together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu, od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.